Welcome to Best in Faction,
a podcast about playing Warhammer 40,000 competitively.
I'm Colin.
I'm Mitch.
And we have Alex here as well. Hi, Alex McDougall. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Yeah?
Good to see you, bud.
Did you stay up all night?
I stood up till 4 a.m. watching the boys.
And by the boys, you mean Team Canada, right?
They were not on stream. Otherwise, I would have been watching them. But I was keeping track of both, for sure.
So for those that aren't aware of what time we film this, it is the last day of WTC. I believe, if my math is correct, which it isn't always, there's a sports radio show out here that says that on radio math never goes well, which I think is kind of funny. But I think they're 8 hours ahead, so I think it's 5 p.m. there. Do we know who won?
We currently have, if England and Poland draw, then I think US will win it, depending on how theirs goes, but it's already looking relatively good. If Poland beats England, then Poland wins the entire thing, and USA will come second.
Okay.
Having only drawn against England and Poland.
Okay. I made a joke on This Week in 40K about the fact that Latvia was the US's first opponent. I think the fact that Poland is dominant in WTC is not the same thing, but still very impressive, right? Like,
not just dominant, the most dominant. Like, I think they've won WTC the most number of times.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's not just that they're good right now. They've been good for a long time.
Yeah, that's just amazing because it's not like the most marquee players in the world aren't from Poland, right? Like, I can't name the people from the Polish team, but if you were quizzing me, I could probably get 4 of Team England. I probably could get 7 of Team USA because I'm presuming I'll forget somebody, or I'll confuse who's playing and who's on the travel team. But from and then even from Team Australia, I know who many of the people are, but from Team Poland, I just don't. Now, I'm not from England, or from Europe rather, or England. I'm not from either of those places. So maybe it would be different if I was over there playing in all the local, all the different massive
nice,
European tournaments.
Brexit dig, not England or Europe.
Right. Neither England nor Europe. You're right. So hopefully, congrats to Team USA. By the time a lot of people hear this, that will be known. But we who do not see the future are not aware of what's going to happen. Okay, great.
Well, I would say just on the polls doing so well. One, as someone whose grandmother's maiden name was Boloski, go Poles. That's awesome. But I think it speaks to what that team is doing for the team culture and for how, like, they have a very clear purpose and way they're executing, right? Like they figured out how to succeed in teams, and they've really dialed it in. And I think that's really encouraging to all of the smaller countries competing. That you can, if you can dial in the, how to handle teams, how to really pair in and have, really good players and manage that stuff. Like, anyone can really compete at that level given the right ingredients. And that's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the other thing I'd comment on there is I'm not good at geography, but I'm pretty sure that there's a war in the country next to them.
Yes.
And I can't emphasize how mind-blowing that is to me. That's the equivalent of living in Washington and going to WTC when Western Canada is at war. Like it's the next country over.
Man,
and that's just now. By the way, if Western Canada was at war, that's just the United States being at war. Is all that actually is.
Nah, it'll be BC going to war with Alberta. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, then Canada's just like, no, it's good. Yeah, just leave us alone. We're resolving. We're just resolving things up here. That's what we're doing. We're just resolving things. So that's too funny. Okay, so all we're doing today is talking about Charity Hammer. That's the whole episode.
From now on. Yeah.
Well, actually, I have a funny thing to share first, but the majority of the episode is going to be about Charity Hammer. We're going to talk through the schedule, the roster, prizes, all the good stuff. We're a month and a day out, which is for those people that are in Europe right now, it probably sounds like it's really soon. We did learn that the Tyranid. Oh, did we learn that? Is that this morning's announcement? Before I say something that's nothing but rumor. I heard a rumor that the NIDS Codex pre-release was going to be announced today, but I don't see it. Okay, well, I guess I'm wrong. Then that's sad. But we have every reason to believe that the NIDS Codex will be out before Charity Hammer. So that's really, really neat because 4 of the best Tyranid players in the world come to Charity Hammer. So, like, if there was a faction that we are dominant on at Charity Hammer, above all other factions, it's Tyranids. Like, that's where the majority of our strength is. So that's going to be really super neat. And then I don't know why people are saying this, but people are saying GW said that the September balance is in the second week of September, and I didn't see that. I just saw September, so I don't know where people are getting that from. Anybody?
I've got no. Usually
nothing.
my rumors are pretty good, and I haven't heard anything yet. So
Okay, that's an interesting one too, because last year at Charity Hammer we had 9.5 dropped on us the day before lists were due.
That's what I was gonna say. Is in true Charity Hammer fashion, the NIDS Codex will release the weekend of Charity Hammer. Like almost like if I was going to guess or bet, that's when I would say it's going to drop. Just because that's how Charity Hammer works. There's always some big thing.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
It feels like
Codex last time, right?
yeah.
Well, the first two were weeks after the balance update because it was preparing for LVO.
yeah.
Right.
So yeah, we've actually had a major meta switch up before every Charity Hammer, which I think is a fantastic trend. So hopefully we get those before Charity Hammer, because if we don't, it will make Charity Hammer a bit less interesting. But I think if we don't, then we will not see very much Eldar and GSC at Charity Hammer. In fact, we may see no GSC because the people that would play them are not going to want to, because that's not the fun Charity Hammer experience. So we'll see. Of course, if things remain unchanged, I don't think Alex is going to be excited playing the current Tyranid rule set either, though. So
yeah, I haven't been finding it particularly fun, and I do, as much as I do like to play competitively, I do like my lists to play well and be enjoyable. So
yeah, I think that the current Tyranid rules are fine. Like, I don't think they're terrible, but what they are is bland.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like, I think that's the best word for them. Like,
there's a lot of data sheets you can read that you're like, oh, I guess that's just a dude who walks around. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, this is a durable dude that shoots. Okay. This is a durable dude that flames. Got it. And then there's the fact that the biggest, neatest tech in the whole book is an advance and shoot warlord with an aura. like that's the best tech that the book has. Anywho, Tyranid's Codex soon. Before we dive into Charity Hammer and more earnestness, or more honesty, more directness, I don't know.
Depth.
Before we do that,
Getting
there you go. I do want to share a story from yesterday. And it's a story that covers two things I'm very passionate about right now. Chuck came over. Actually, Josh Bagwell, Chuck, and our buddy Jason came over, and we did kind of a 2-round play 2 different opponents thing, which we do on weekends pretty regularly. And I played Dark Angels because I am not enjoying Eldar, so I've been playing Dark Angels. And I'm playing 10 and 5 Deathwing Knights, a Land Raider, the last canon one, 10 Hellblasters in that Land Raider because I personally refuse to play with Desolators. I also don't own them. A unit of Scout Snipers, 2 units of 3 Eradicators, a Thunderfire Cannon, 2 Rentline Speeder Vengeances. I think that's it. So it's a fairly small number of things, but Deathwing Knights are so silly that you just kind of get to march the Deathwing Knights at them while the rest of your army shoots and does missions. It's quite fun. I'm actually 6-1 with it, and I lost to Monster Mash yesterday, which was hilarious. It turns out sometimes the monsters in Monster Mash can just be like, no, bro, I'm not going to die. And it turns out if that happens enough, it's really bad. But after that, Chuck and I played. And Chuck is more frustrated with the current meta than most because Chuck's armies aren't the winners. Okay. He owns a lot of orcs. Orcs are fine. They're not S tier. They might be A tier, but they're certainly not S tier. He owns Necrons, but it's not a big enough collection. And then he has a lot of Chaos. So tell me what in Chaos is super high level competitive right now, unless you're Anthony Vanilla. Like,
that is the example I was going to use. I was like, yeah, they're doing really well in WTC, but that's not really, yeah.
Also, WTC means like, oh, what if we just don't put him into his worst matchups?
Yeah. The WTC lists are always like, they're really cool, and it's a very specialized like ability to write lists for that. But like, they're always, it's the like, well, what if I just didn't? I could pick one hard counter that I don't have to deal with.
Yeah, they were. Tyler was saying that Lucas was designed to play against like 3 factions, and after 5 rounds had only played those 3 factions, like as an example.
Yep.
So also because the people that pair for Team USA, I don't know who's in charge of pairings this year, but there's so much pairing experience on the team. Anyways, back to the current in the house meta.
Yep.
So I played Dark Angels into Chuck's Orcs, and Chuck brought a gun orc list, which he wrecked Ultramarines with in the first game of his day. And it was really, really neat. It had 18 of the copters, which if you guys haven't seen yet are hilarious. It had, they're hilarious. Have you seen them, Alex?
Yeah.
They're fast, and they have a gazillion shots that they hit on 5. So Chuck overwatches with them all the time because he's like, it's only that they hit on 6s now. That's only half as many hits. So he had the copters and some bikers and the stupid boss on the Squig Hog that just can't die ever.
Oh yeah.
And then like the Squig Hog Riders. Yeah, the dude, I think it's Mogstruck or something. That's
Mozrog.
Mozrog, who's just like, what if I didn't die? So
like, he's a jerk.
He's a real
It
jerk.
reminds me of Metal Bat from One Punch Man.
I get that reference.
Great. I don't, but moving on. And then he had Squig Hog Riders, which are like Chuck's favorite things in the current Orc world. So it was interesting because, first of all, this was another game that Chuck and I played that didn't have the S tier involved and didn't have Desolators and didn't have Titanic. And another game that, even though this game wasn't close, we still had a great time. And what we're seeing is if you just use common sense when playing with your friends about what people should play, the game is quite fun. And I bet that as a Tyranid player, and also you took a silly GSC list, Alex, I bet you have opinions about this. You went to a GT last weekend and you took a very off meta GSC list with no Acolyte bombs and no neophytes. So has this been your experience? Are you getting to play a bunch of like normal 40k that doesn't include the silly stuff?
Yeah, I mean, that was 5-round GT, like pretty typical. And yeah, honestly, that list was a lot of fun. I played 25 aberrants, put them all in vehicles, and just drove at my opponent. And yeah, I had a great time punching it out in the middle. And I think a lot of people were enjoying the game with bringing like softer stuff.
Yeah.
Because I guess the thing is, like, people are sort of complaining that since the power levels are so extreme right now, that it doesn't always feel like you're playing 40k. You're just like, anyway, this thing just murders anything it touches. So, well, are we even looking at rules? Like, I'll just roll my dice and pick your stuff up.
Yeah, I had a weird conversation with Chuck and Billy about this right after Tacoma, because I said, here's the thing, I'm going to go to a lot more tournaments this year. I want to be repped and ready to go on Eldar, but I'm not enjoying playing Eldar, and also none of the friends that come over to give me practice games are interested in playing against Eldar. Mm-hmm. I did a game with Hank that was Eldar versus Custodes that wasn't particularly interesting, but that's the extent of what I've been able to do. And Chuck and Billy said, that's fine, because Eldar is there's nothing in Eldar that's a skill you need to practice, right? Eldar is literally, what if I had a lot of things that were fast and shot well? And that's just not a complicated army to learn how to play. What's that, Mitch?
They're fast and shot well. I said that's such an understatement for Eldar.
Yeah, well,
but that's fine. We're not going negative here. It just felt very.
So the other thing, Chuck was supposed to be here. He had a work emergency last night, and he's sleeping instead. But Chuck was supposed to be here to talk about this. So I'll try to paraphrase what he told me. So he set up his orcs. Now, Alex, you've played against orcs. What do orcs do in 10th edition? What is their strategy?
punch, drive at
Run
and
at
punch.
you, run at you, right? So we both deployed aggressively, and I went first, and I said, okay, here I come. And Chuck was mind blown that my Dark Angels army was going to run at the orcs. And so both units of Terminators ran. I did whole army advance and charge. We were on sweep and clear, so I was able to get to him on the first turn with some good advance rolls.
Ooh.
15 Terminators went into combat on the first round.
That's bad.
And killed one of the 2 units of Squig Riders. The Land Raider went up, the Hellblasters jumped out, and they took out 6 of the helicopters. So, like, a lot of stuff died on the first turn, and as a result, Chuck then just fell back, and couldn't hold the table. And the reason he wanted to talk about this is because he went to that game presuming that I would play the way that I normally play, which is I would hide for several turns while playing the mission, and then I would engage. But my army is designed to just go at people. And the minute I did that, his strategy that he had planned and prepped with the orcs was on its head, and he wasn't sure how to adapt. And I think that's a really interesting thing to think about, because what are you going to do? I had the same thing happen when I played Steve Trimble at Tacoma. I had thought through what the Custodes matchup was like, and it wasn't like that. And as a result, I played it wrong, and I got trashed. So I think that there's an important lesson here that you have to think about. Here's my takeaway from this, and I'd love to hear Mitch and Alex's. My takeaway is you have to be willing at the table to readjust your strategy. You have to be willing to be like, well, that's not it. Or someone does a non-optimal thing on the first turn and it works. Like they're like, well, if I make 3 9s on 2d6, I can do this thing and take away your really amazing unit. And you think, well, that'll never happen. And then it does. Like in the Tacoma game with Tyler Bortel and Noah, where Noah teleported in his knight behind the home objective of Tyler and just made the 9-inch charge. Right? That wasn't math likely, but then Tyler has to readjust his whole strategy based on that. So, Alex, what does this make you think of? Because I'm sure this is something you can relate to.
Yeah, I mean, I think a good example of that might even be just talking about the Grey Knights list that USA brought to WTC. Is it's like one of these very strange armies where, like, if the thing that you're doing falls apart, if the game goes into that like really high chaos state, like you suddenly have to be not just making like Warhammer plays, you have to like problem solve, because you're like, well, this isn't the problems I'm normally like given, where I'm like, okay, I gotta kill that. You're like, okay, if I move forward, that unit leaves. And if I shoot at that unit leaves. And like when we get used to playing 40K and have plans, and those plans just can't work, how well can you think your way out of them?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think Great Knights are a great example of that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We were teaching our friend Jason to play, and his first game was against Grey Knights. And then I was like, wait, this was dumb. Why did we do this? This is not how you learn how to play 40K.
No.
What do you think of this, Mitch?
So I have a lot of thoughts, actually. So the first one, from what you described there, is like theory hammer meeting reality, right? Like that's something we all have to deal with. Like realizing that you were incorrect in an assumption or a plan, like whatever it is not necessarily, like there are a lot of people who struggle with adapting to that. It really throws them off. I would also say it's a play style thing. People who are much more based on having a plan to execute, and that's how they play the game, are much more vulnerable to this. Whereas like my style of play is I build lists that my entire goal is I just want to disrupt my opponent. I don't care if I win. If I can disrupt your plan enough, I probably win. And if not, I'm going to have a great time doing it. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going in being, and that gives me an advantage for all of the structured lists. Because yeah, if all the math works out and everything goes one way, your plan probably works. But if I get 1 or 2 spikes and I'm doing things that you can't anticipate, I can shatter your plan. And then you have nothing. Right. So I think part of it is intuitive play versus strategic play, I think is how I would term it, right? I look at how you, Colin, or some of the different like high level players I've seen play, how they go in with such a plan of execution. And I've done that certainly in the past. Like there are times where you're like, well, this is my only option. This is the only path to victory I can see. But a lot of other times there's like a bunch of options that are, as you said, suboptimal, but viable. And if you're expanding that field of what you're willing to kind of play with, you can start to really mitigate your opponent's plan. And that's sort of it's a 2-point swing, right? Like if I'm taking away what you're wanting to do and I'm getting to do what I want to do, now I've put the ball back in your court. I'm changing the pace. There's a lot of different things that are going on there. And it's a very, it's a much more tempo sensitive way to play, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's well put. And like one of the ways that I like to play is if I can decide what you have to deal with on your turn, I win. Right? Like if Alex and I are playing and I go first and I run 10 Deathwing Knights up into a Tyranid army that isn't Monster Mash, because that didn't actually go that well, up into a Tyranid army, and they're like in his army, right? And they can get to its home objective. Like I'm saying, Alex, on your next turn, deal with this. Move, block it, shoot it, kill it, whatever you need to do, you have to deal with this. And if it's easy for him to deal with, then that's not effective. But if I've given him a difficult challenge, now instead of Alex playing his turn towards trying to advance his strategy, he's responding to my strategy. And that's a lot of how I win 40K, is that I put people in a situation where they have to respond to me rather than doing what they wanted to do.
And dictate the tempo. So there's something that just occurred to me. So we've been talking about Grey Knights a lot, right, in this, because they are very disruptive as an army. Their mechanics, I love them. They're the only army I want to play right now. I have guard lists that I think are actually really good, and I need to play those just to prove a point, but that's later. But what just occurred to me is Custodes. So we've been talking about disruptive and consistent strategies. Custodes are both, and that is what makes them so good. They are incredibly consistent in what they do, and they also have redeploy abilities and can be disruptive. And I think that's really honing in on what makes that army so good right now.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so I think that was a fantastic conversation that people will get good value out of. So, but let's move on to Charity Hammer in the interest of time. So, I have developed PowerPoint slides, which is unfortunate for the thousands of people that listen to this on podcast. It's funny, like we get 500 people that watch it on YouTube, depending on the episode, and then 3,000 to 4,000 that listen to the podcast. And so when we do these video things, I'm always like, well, it'd be great if you guys could see this. So if you want to see the slides, they start at 23 minutes and 57 seconds into the YouTube. So you can go see them. Okay, so Charity Hammer. Charity Hammer started in 2019 with the concept of how do we do two things? How do we so at this time, back in 2018, 2019, because it's January 2019, so it's, it's like a while ago now. So back in that time, there weren't nearly as many tournaments. In fact, as someone who covers tournaments every Tuesday morning on This Week in 40K, as someone who covers tournaments, there is a phenomenal amount more than there were 4 or 5 years ago. So the best players in the country didn't get to see each other that much. And so originally what Charity Hammer was about is let's take the best players we can who are also incredible humans and good ambassadors for the game, and let's get them together and make them play till they're exhausted. That was the original strategy.
And put as much stress on Colin's personal relationship as possible.
Yes. The early Charity Hammers were completely in my house, and my wife did not appreciate. So the idea was, let's get everybody together and have them play. And the first Charity Hammer had 16 people, but of that 16, it was so many people that are top players now. There was a not particularly well-known John Lennon. There was a not particularly well-known Alex McDougall, partially because you live in the Barrens of Alaska.
What?
Touch exaggeration.
Just saying. I don't think JT was at that one. I don't think he was at that one.
Year one. I invited him for year 2.
But there was just a number of incredible humans that were all good players, and Jim Vessel was there, and immediately after that he won everything for like 8 months.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
So we had
basically
and Nanavati was there for sure.
Yep.
So we had this thing where we would do this tournament, and it would be these incredible players all playing each other, and then we would also play all these other games, and we'd play all night and all day, and we would raise money for charity, for Child's Play, which, if you don't know, is an amazing charity that does work on 2 big things, but a lot of stuff. The first thing that they do is toys, games, and basically electronic gadget support for children's hospitals. And the idea behind that is that, much like the movie Patch Adams, for those that are old, the idea is that children are there for a long time. They don't handle it as well as grown-ups do. They can't bring a book with them that they're going to be engrossed in. They can't play on their cell phone necessarily. So it's an incredibly awful experience for them. For those that haven't been through this, our youngest, when he was 4, spent a bunch of time in Children's Hospital. He had a growth right here that could potentially have been a disastrous thing. Had to have it removed. Such fun things as Stephanie pinning him down while he screams, and they do things like it was terrible. Children's hospitals are an amazing saint of a place, just an amazing miracle of a thing that exists, and we want to do everything we can to support them, and so we do. Every single damn penny, all of it. Nothing feeds us, nothing buys us anything, nothing buys equipment. Everything goes to this charity. Okay. And so what Charity Hammer is now, 5 years later, or 5 Charity Hammers later, what Charity Hammer is now is a bigger party. It kind of went from 16 to 20-ish to 40-ish to 40-ish. Like, it's really grown as we've done it. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about. But it's going to start Thursday, September 14th at 2 p.m. Pacific. Alex is going to be here. And then you already asked for the time off, Alex?
Yeah, I got it.
Nice. Then it's going to run.
It's really easy because it was one day because I work 4/10s.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Like, just Thursday off.
Lucky
I know,
bastard.
right?
Yeah, 4/10s is cool.
I'm going to slap your head. Like when I see you, just the back of your head at some point, you're going to have a handprint. Because I envy you that much.
Yeah.
Wow. I look forward to that. So Thursday at 2 p.m., Thursday, September 14th at 2 p.m. Pacific, which is about 9 or 10 o'clock at night for most of Europe. Sorry. Then it goes nonstop. There you go, Europe. Lots of content for you. Until Sunday at 4 o'clock Pacific again. So it is just over 3 days straight. Or is that 4 days straight? Thursday to Friday, Friday to Saturday. 3 days. So it's
Who
just
says on radio, math never goes
exactly right.
Call that.
So just over 72 hours. There are 2 streams that are going to go nonstop for that time. We might shut down stream 2 for the 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. time slot. Sometimes people say they're going to play at that time and then just don't get up and do it. So we'll see how that goes.
For
it depends
shame.
on our yes, for shame indeed. The point is that you're
we need
exhausted,
a shame
folks.
bell.
Yeah. But people don't remember that that Mitch and I went to sleep at like 2 a.m. last time and then got up and did a 6 a.m. talk show, which we're just not going to do again.
Why?
Because we aren't doing, I'll talk about that in a second, because the format's different. That's why.
I'm kidding.
Yeah. So, and then there'll be a third stream. The third stream is mostly going to be silliness. It's going to have some chats and some interviews and stuff, but it's only going to be up some of the time. It won't be up the whole time, and then 100% go to Child's Play, as we said. Okay, so now I want to talk about Charity Hammer over the years and what I've learned. So this is my picture of 2 years ago at Charity Hammer, right after the hot sauce eating contest. By the way, if you were to take the most competitive 40K players that exist and tell them that they have to have a hot sauce eating contest and they have to wimp out in order to lose, it's actually a terrible plan
Yeah.
I think we ended up calling it a tie between 3 people because we were worried that people were going to literally have to go to the hospital or someone was going to throw up in the gaming space, which nobody needs. We had like 24 more hours before the event was done. So no one needed that.
Also, a lot of milk was being drank. So like, that's going to be a really gnarly
Yes.
cleanup.
Yeah, it's definitely no good.
Yeah.
So this is a picture of Tanner. Tanner went too hard, I would say.
Mhm.
I would say that Tanner did not have the experience of the Michael Tempe, who was practiced and prepared, and also was a robot. So like, it's not the same thing. So Tanner ate too much hot sauce. This is him laying on the ground in the rain with a jug of milk next to him, which I think is a fantastic photo. And that's for those that don't know, that's the man, the myth, the legend, Mark, who is really amused by Tanner on the ground. Mark Perry, excuse me.
This picture is very like accidental Renaissance.
Yeah. Because like, if you look in the background, you've got Chuck and John Lennon and Collins sitting on the couch, I think, or is it? No, that's Pickle. That's Pickle, another Charity Hammer legend. Way in the back on the right over there is a Tyler Agee.
Yeah. I see Tyler. I see Tim Penny too, next to John. Yeah. And then I think the person in the red cap is probably Brad Chester.
That 100% is Brad Chester.
Yeah. And then Paul Winters is looking at the computer.
Yep.
Okay.
Who do we have right over Mark Perry's shoulder there? That's Lucas. That's the mystery man.
No, that's Lucas. I'm sure Lucas?
Of it. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think that's Lucas. Anywho, so here's the reason I bring this up. So in the first year, it was like I don't remember how many people any of these were, but it was like 16-ish people. And we all slept in my house, and people collapsed on couches and on air mattresses and just made do with where they were, where they could sleep. Do you remember where you slept that first year, Alex? Wherever you could, I presume.
Yeah, couch,
floor,
corner. Under is with Gus.
At one point, and I can't remember who it was. Somebody slept underneath one of the gaming tables while people were playing. I can't remember who that was. So that was the first year. Jim. It could have been. Then the second year.
Real quick, one other first year Charity Hammer story. The last dab was brought by one Alex McDougall. This hot sauce has run through the history of Charity Hammer. And,
tell the Jim Vessel story.
Yeah, and one Jim Vessel, Stephanie Collins' lovely wife, made great tacos, amazing tacos, huge spread for everyone. And so we're loading up, and Alex had brought the last dab and just set it amongst the other hot sauces. There was no, if you didn't know what you were looking at, you didn't. It smelled very nice. It had a great fragrance to it. A bit of mango for that year, I think. Was part of it. And I saw Jim just loading his tacos up on them. He liked it. He thought he liked it spicy. So I'm still making my tacos, and Jim has gone into the forward dining room.
Mm-hmm. And he's eating aggressively. He's hungry.
Yeah, and he's very hungry. He's just slamming tacos. He has a game to go to.
Yeah, I think he's in a rush to come and play me, I think it was.
Yeah. And so then, like, 2 minutes into that, all of a sudden his head comes through the doorway back into the kitchen, just sweat pouring off of him, and he's like, what did I do? Like, I don't understand what's going on. Like, he's just
I know. And he goes, how are you guys fine?
Yeah.
So Charity Hammer's like that. That was the same Charity Hammer where Abuse Puppy people were donating to get him to say funny words with his fairly distinctive speaking voice. So it was an amazing time. We raised, a little over $10,000. Then the second year, we went up to 20-something people, and our good friend Harrison, who lived about a mile or two away, had a giant basement with air mattresses, and so we were able to kind of bus people in and out.
Well, I had the air mattresses, but yes.
Oh, yeah. Mitch brought the air mattresses. So then that was kind of just the plan, right, was that we would do that. And that also worked really well. And in fact, that raised even more money, almost double the money. In fact, I think it was over double the money.
It was.
And that had Brian Pullen and Richard Siegler and Mark Perry
The Falcon
And,
playing Danny McDevitt while eating ghost pepper pickles and
Yeah.
taking their shirts off until Dad Colin had to come in and shut down our fun stream.
Yeah, Danny McDevitt and Peter the Falcon playing shirtless 40K. No one needed that.
The
So
stream demanded it. They don't.
just again, though, just again, an incredible roster of amazing people. And it raised a ton of money. Again, it was fantastic. Then, fast forward, we went a year and a half this time because of COVID. And we got together again, and even bigger, even more tired. Tons of people sleeping in my house, like 18. It was terrible, by the way. But the tournament went fantastic. Everything went great, and we made an incredible amount of money. Okay. Then last year, I tried to get even more sophisticated. Longer, more streaming. We did a whole other extra day of streaming. We did a meta stream. We did multiple streams. We did commentary through the whole event, like on every game, basically. And it was a mess. I'm gonna be open with you guys. We made money. We did the thing we were supposed to do. I, for a month afterwards, was mad at myself for my execution. I do this for charity. I know I don't need to be that hard on myself. That's all fine. I'm here to tell you guys that what happened was we got away from the slumber party vibe. That's what happened. I tried to make the technology too complicated, and I tried to make too many people coming and going, and then all of the commentary was actually a big mistake. Because while commentary is neat, it does not know enough about the games no matter how you do it, okay? And what we realized was the slumber party vibe is fun because you all are part of the slumber party. You're coming on at 4 a.m. You're connecting at 3 p.m. You're seeing what's going on. You're interacting with the players. They're sharing with you what's happened. They're telling you stories of silly things that have happened at Charity Hammer. And none of that could happen if we have commentary the whole time. So we're not going to do commentary. We're just not doing it. We're going to do it on the final game probably, but I'm not even sure of that. Why aren't we doing commentary? Well, because of something I'm about to talk about involving the roster. We have the most personable, best ambassadors of the game we've ever had at Charity Hammer. I am blown away by the quality of people and the amazing amount of information they're going to give us about 40K. And in that spirit, we'll have the table boss that we always have, the stream host, and we'll have the people playing, and they'll just be talking. You'll hear them talking about their game. You can ask them questions. They'll tell you things that they're thinking about doing. It will be, you get to be part of the slumber party. We're going to take behind-the-scene pictures. We're going to have hand cameras that show you what people are doing. We're going to have a much more slumber party experience. I think that this is going to make it more fun, okay? Now, the other half of that is we're simplifying tech significantly. There will be no meta stream. You're going to have a document, or it's going to be in a number of places. We'll talk about that in a moment, but you're going to have a list of 3 hyperlinks. Stream 1, Stream 2, Stream 3. This is what's happening. We've resolved the technology issues that resolved this that were a problem last year, one of which was calling the ISP and saying, dude. But they were, because the first year that it was at this house, I called them and told them, and we were great and we had no problems. And the second year I didn't call them and tell them because frankly I didn't think of it, and we got throttled massively, and it was a big part of why it didn't work. Why Charity Hammer didn't work. I don't know why I didn't call Comcast at the beginning of the weekend and inform them. I don't know why. It was, technologically speaking, last year was a massive disaster and very frustrating.
A lot of moving parts.
Yeah, exactly.
So in the spirit of the slumber party vibe, are we going to have a pillow fight battle royale? Like in your driveway?
Perry's not here, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Like
first of all, nobody's gonna have a pillow fight with Mark Perry.
No.
That's the first thing. I think I own enough pillows and I have a big enough driveway that I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
I'm just going to say yes.
I think we should have a pillow fight battle royale.
Okay. All right. Hold on. I'm writing it down. That makes it happen. Because I think everybody needs that in their lives. I'm not going to participate because while I won't get hurt by the... I'm not going to participate because while I won't get hurt by the pillows, I will find a way to trip and hurt myself. That's just, that's my life. That's my life. Okay. So technology. Okay, slumber party vibe. That's all super great. And the other thing to keep in mind, actually, we'll talk about that in just a moment. So the slumber party vibe is back. Okay, come enjoy the 40K slumber party vibe. We want you at it. Okay, here we go. All right, so over the course of 4 years, we have raised $120,000 for charity. Woo! I feel really good about that. So the first year, I don't think it actually was 10. I think it was 12. I think I have that number wrong because I remember we doubled it the following year. So we did about $12,000 the first year. We did $25,000 the second year. Then, because of COVID, we were locked down. And so what we did is we took locals and we had them quarantined for 3 weeks and COVID test. And then we did a shorter weekend where we did basically the best of the Pacific Northwest tournament. The TNG guys were here. The best players in Washington were here, and we did this tournament. That's the only one I've ever won because I'm not beating John Lennon and Nick Nadavati in the normal tournament. But I did win that one. So that charity was to raise money for a friend of ours who was sadly dying from cancer. He's now passed away, unfortunately. But his family really appreciated that help. Then we came back in July of 2021, and we raised $42,000. That was the best charity hammer. Incidentally, that one had flawless technology, great people, good organization, and no commentary. Just
all the pieces came together.
And hot sauce.
Yeah, but I didn't, and hot sauce. And that was the charity hammer where if we raised $40,000, we shaved the facial hair of like 9 gamers.
I looked like a statey, guys. I looked like a statey for you.
You did. And then did you shave the mustache off as well?
No, never.
Okay, never. All right.
No, this is my granddad's mustache.
Okay. Well, creepy. Jesus.
That's a
Okay.
joke from Reno 911.
Okay. Yeah. So, and then by the way, the previous year we had to raise $20,000 to shave Alex's head, which, as you can see, we were so good at that it never grew back.
Yeah, it just took.
we were so effective at the shaving that we permanently ruined Alex.
What you guys don't know is he's contractually obligated now to keep it that way.
Yes.
You guys paid for a
That's actually what
lifetime.
$10,000 was for.
So we'll do something fun this year as well. I don't know what it's going to be, but we'll do some sort of silly bit. So this year, it's actually in September. I don't know why it says August. It's not supposed to. It's in September. And that's what's going on. Now, I would like to make $42,001. That's what I would like to make. Because of how last year went, I'm just going to set the goal at that. 42,001. That's our goal. That's what we have to do. Okay. Why are my slides no go? Go slides. There we go. The Charity Hammer GT. The Charity Hammer GT used to be called the hardest GT on the planet. Can't do that anymore. Not a thing. For one, the singles event at WTC is insane. Second, the gold ticket GW event is insane. The Nova Open Charity RTT is insane. So the RTTs that Art of War does in-house are insane. Like, there's a lot of tournaments that have the best players. And the other thing that we've run into is that the guys who have come every year can't come every year because the travel is so much worse. A huge number of past Charity Hammer people are on Team USA for WTC. Like, that's thousands and thousands of dollars of travel the month before Charity Hammer. Lots of those people went to ATC. Lots of those people are going to Las Vegas team tournament. Vanilla went to several UK tournaments. He's going to London GT. Like, these are people who are traveling nonstop. And as I looked at it, I was getting a little bit frustrated because I was like, no, I'm supposed to have the best players on the planet. That's supposed to be the point. It's not the point. And it's like the end of Ted Lasso. It was never about me. It was never about the best players. It was always about the best personalities. It was always about that. And it's not that we have bad players now. We have fantastic players. We have like, I think 3/4 of the event has won at least a GT, and like 1/3 of the event has won a major. Like, we still have a crazy good event, but people like Nanavati and Siegler and Perry and Vanilla and Chester, those guys are too busy. I'm sorry, they can't come every year. I'm sure they will come again, but they can't come every year. So the tournament has changed to being amazing people who are incredibly competent. What that does mean is that we have a very different roster of people than before, and I'm really excited about it because one of the things we've done is we've gone younger. And we have some incredible young talent, like Josh Schutz, who came last year, who I had not met, who was like 21 years old and just wrecking people and just vibrating with energy. Or the year before when the TNG guys were all like 20 years old and they came for the first time and they were like, they could barely speak. They were so excited. Like,
and now part of them are at WTC right now.
Yeah, and now all three of them are WTC, and Lucas is playing on the team. Charity Hammer GT is a really good way to assure that you're going to be better at 40K. We've seen that over and over again.
So the Charity Hammer Jaime debut for Charity Hammer GT, like
he had already won a bunch of stuff. We just didn't know.
No, but he came and beat people. We were like, oh my god, this guy is going to be a thing.
Yeah,
like that's what it has often provided, is this chance for someone to come in and not just play one good player in an event, two good players in an event. It's like everyone they just beat wins majors. That's a big deal. So it's really cool. Like I'll never forget John Lennon like pulling like a heroic intervention to beat I think it was Nick. Like it was just so many different great moments like that I just love about Charity Hammer.
Yeah, and the final is always crazy. Like the first year, the final was Nick Nanavati against unknown John Lennon.
Yeah.
And Nick and John had met once before, but didn't know each other. Nick and John landed at the same time, and we were at the airport, and they were like getting to know each other. Like, so Nick might argue this, but I believe that a decent amount of Coach of Art of War recruitment started at Charity Hammer. I think that's why Violence is on Charity Hammer. I think that's why Alex is at Charity Hammer. But anyways, so John and Nick played in that final, and John lost. Then the next year, Nick and I played in that final, and I lost. And then the following year, the following Charity Hammer, John played Jaime, John won. And then most recently, John played Sean Naden and won. So pretty incredible finales other than me. So it really is incredible. So here's what we do. We do a bracket and we seed, and the stat check guys are going to do a true ELO on it for us. And so everyone's going to be ranked based on who they've beaten and who they've lost to in 9th and 10th edition. So no 8th, which means that Colin drops significantly on the ELO.
I have like no footprint.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to drop. I was like 7th or 8th last year. Usually Alex and I are hanging out next to each other holding hands in the ELO. We've been that way several years because Alex and I comparing tournaments is hilarious. Like Alex has now started going really far in huge tournaments, but prior to that, Alex and I are like, I want a major. Alex is like, no, I want a major. Alex is like, I want a GT. I'm like, I want a GT. So we normally are next to each other, but because I played so little in 9th due to family stuff, I'm probably going to drop a lot, and I'm excited about that. I want to be like the 30th seed. I don't think that will happen, but it'd be fun. So we are ranking everybody by ELO, and then the first round is 1 plays 32, 2 plays 31, 3 plays 30. I can never remember what that's called. It has a name. I can never remember it. This is single elimination. So we're going to have 16 games in round 1, 8 games in round 2, 4 games in round 3, 2 games in round 4, 1 game in round 5. What we do is in the first round, 16 people lose. And that's a lot if you think about people traveling here to play. And they get to play other games as well, but they don't get to play in the tournament. So what we do is those 16 people that drop go into a losers tournament, and they play as well. So they have 8 games in round 1, 4 games in round 2, so the winner of that tournament plays the same number as the winner of the overall tournament. And Alex, you won that, right? Didn't you win that?
I think I've won the RTT twice because I
have
a really good habit of playing somebody who like goes super deep like right away, even though it'll be like an ELO thing.
Yeah. Like, who did you play? Do you remember who you played first last year that got you?
I want to say it was like.
Wasn't it Tempe with the Chaos Knights? And you just got hosed off the table?
Yeah, I got absolutely rinsed. And
like the book had just come out, and he was like, "I've brought 11 armigers," and you're like, "Oh."
Yeah, it'd be a real shame if my entire army was like T5 4+ saves and your entire shooting was strength 6 82.
Wouldn't that be great?
Wouldn't
The
it be
year before
rough?
that, it was Tyranids that were not particularly good versus Hank, who had like just picked up Admech, and I got absolutely rinsed.
It was it 2 years ago too that we did the team tournament thing, and we did a team tournament, and Nick and John got to draft teams, and they paired Alec. I was playing Ultramarines, the Ultra Memes list that John played that was just like, what if you died? And they paired me into Alex, and we knew it was a bad matchup for Alex, and we had this completely silly team tournament game where Alex is like, I'm just trying to play you close. I'm like, well, that thing's dead, and this thing's dead.
Point,
I've killed this
click,
thing.
Point, click.
Yeah, that was a pretty fun one too. So come to Charity Hammer and watch Alex lose games. That's what we're saying.
I am so excited to play Green Knights. Just thrilled.
Yeah. That's the other thing about the GT is that I, Colin, put specific effort into making sure we have army representation. So we are. It's not going to be, even if there's no balance patch, it's not going to be 10 Eldar. I'm going to let Ben Jurek bring Eldar because he's been playing Eldar in things. But anybody who's not been maining Eldar in tournaments doesn't get to bring Eldar to that tournament. That's just how it works. Because we don't want it to be lopsided. Anyway.
Ideally, Eldar and GSC are nerfed by that point.
Yeah, ideally. But I am considering just removing them from the GT. So I'm not going to, probably, but I might. Like, here's the thing. I'm of two minds about this. Let me share it, and then I want to hear what you were going to say, Mitch. So don't forget your thought. I think it makes 40K significantly more interesting to drop those two. However, do I then buff the 6 that are unplayable or the 5 that are unplayable? So, like, it's not perfect. And the other thing about Eldar and GSC is you can counter them, but you have to build to do it. So the way the pairings work is you know who you're paired into before lists are locked. So, and let's not do it that way this year. I've changed my mind. So
we'll do it live.
So changeable.
No, actually, we can't do it. No, we have to know our pairings before, because if the balance update comes the day before the tournament, we have to know pairings already. So you'll know pairings, and you won't know what your opponent's playing, and you won't know what you're playing. And then you'll decide what you're playing. So if you're playing against Ben Jurek and you're very confident he's going to bring Eldar, you could skew for Eldar. And so I think that strategy of, I know I'm playing Ben Jurek in the first round, I think that strategy is interesting, but we will figure that out as we get closer.
So what I was going to say is it's a pro TO move to be like, I might ban it. Maybe not. I might. Like that.
Yeah.
That's perfect. That's exactly like the kind of fear you want to strike in your players'
Yeah.
hearts.
And I might ban it on the Wednesday before the tournament. You just don't know.
Yeah. You are a fickle god. That's
exactly right. The final game is the one you really want to catch, but I would say you want to catch both. So the last 4 players, the final 4 of the GT is at 11 a.m. on Sunday. And then the final is at 7 a.m. They play from 7 to 11, and then the final is from 11 to 3. What that means is that the person that wins plays 8 hours of straight 40K on the final day. Sorry, that's Charity Hammer. And then we do a wrap-up party where we give away prizes and we shave people's beards and heads and other manscaping. No other manscaping.
Like,
no other.
I was going to say, what platform are we streaming on?
Yeah. So here's the thing about. Did I just mess everything up? A cable just came out of my computer. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. You're fine.
I can hear you. Okay.
Yep.
I guess that cable wasn't important. Yeah, my foot caught a cable under the table and pulled it,
just having
and something happened.
Flashbacks to like Homer Simpson in a nuclear plant, like
yeah. Ooh. No. Okay, so the final thing I'll say about the GT is we use challenge as it's called on the internets, and we let you predict your bracket. And this year, the prize for predicting your bracket is insane. Stay tuned for a couple slides from now, and we will blow your mind. Okay.
Oh, I think so. Okay, cool.
Is it a Necronomicon?
No. So here's the Fantastic Humans.
You said insane, so.
So here's the Fantastic Humans list. First, I want to do big shout outs to Jason Schuster, John Quinnell, and Pickles. Those three guys are not playing in the GT. We might get them on stream, but they're not playing
John's
in the
coming?
GT.
Excellent. I didn't think he was going to make it.
John Cornell is something like an 80%. He still has not confirmed that he's coming, but I put him on the list because it's like not materializing. What's the word? Manifesting. I'm manifesting John to be here.
I mean, he's a wonderful human being. Horrible opinions on Star Wars. Other than that, just fantastic.
They're not as bad as Hank's opinions on Star Wars.
I don't know anyone who has worse opinions on Star Wars than John. But other than that, he's a great human being.
Fair enough. So where does manifesting that? So if you guys are fans of Grim After Dark, do me a favor and heckle him about Charity Hammer.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the three of those guys are supporting us. They're going to do stuff. If John comes, we're going to put him on camera. We're going to give him a microphone and tell him to ramble. It's going to be great. For the GT, there are currently 33 people playing in the GT. Why are there 33 people in the GT, Colin? Well, because someone's going to change their mind that they're coming. And I need something to handle that. So what we're going to do is we're going to ELO these 32 people, and number 33 won't play in the GT unless someone drops. And if they drop, that person will drop into the slot that got opened. They will not redo the whole pairings.
I feel like it's got to be me. I've got to be the 33rd.
Okay. Well, we'll see.
It's almost certainly.
We'll see. All right, let's go through these guys. I'll do it relatively quickly, but I think it's important to talk about why each of these people was invited. First up, Alex McDougall was invited because he's Alex. Alex is one of the best Tyranid players in the world. He has won a million things. He is a member of Team Canada, not the travel team, but a member of Team Canada. He's a member of Art of War. He has been to every Charity Hammer, and I can't imagine doing a Charity Hammer without you, Alex, especially because you can literally drive here.
Yeah. It wouldn't be Charity Hammer without his GTI parked in.
But that does make it hard to get back into the country sometimes, doesn't it, Alex?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. I think it was 2021 where you had to stay an extra day and that you weren't expecting. And work was like, oh. So, the wonderful Alex McDougall. Next up is the fantastic Alex Pina. Alex is a local who I had chatted with quite a lot because he was a fan of the show. I had not played him, though. And then I was at a GT in Olympia in February, and I played Dark Angels into Sisters. Now, this is when Dark Angels were off the hook. I had all the Ravenwing shooting that was insane, and Sisters were bad. This is after 9.5 came out. They lost Armor of Contempt. And Alex played such a good game against me that I think he outplayed me, and I won because my rules were better. Like, I legitimately think that that's what happened. And all the time, he had incredible sportsmanship and was funny and interesting. And I was so blown away by that I went to other locals and I said, what do you guys think of Alex? And not McDougall, where everybody knows what we think of Alex. I said, what do you guys think of Alex Pina? Or maybe it's Pina. I don't honestly know. I'm sorry, Alex. Is it Pina? Does he have an Enye I didn't put on there? Is that the deal?
That's very possible.
Okay.
I have played him as well. I played against him with my Dread Knight Dance Party.
Okay.
Twice, I think, actually, when he was playing Death Guard, and both times he had his entire army just not kill a Telemon, as is wont to happen. But had a great game. He plays really it was really technically well done. He was doing everything he could to get every point he could, and I think he beat me one of those times because he'd adapted from the first time. Like, he's just an awesome guy. Yeah,
and he's one of two people at the tournament who I think are likely to play Sisters in the GT.
That's exciting.
And I think that's really cool.
Has an identical twin brother who also plays 40K that I walked up to and I was like, hey, what's up, dude?
Oh,
not him.
That I didn't know. All right, so Alex is this great. He's going to be there. I'm excited about that. Ben Jurek is a longtime 40K guy.
Yeah.
We met him at BAO in like 2018. And Mitch and I hung out with him for a bunch of that tournament and really built a friendship with him. And then we saw him at one tournament in Spokane at one point, and then we kind of didn't see him. Well, Ben's been on a tear. He won SoCal, I think. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Last year?
Yeah. Or this year?
So he won SoCal, and then he won some tournaments this year with Eldar. He did well at LSO. He did well at Tacoma. He's a member of Team USA. He is just a phenomenal human being and a great 40K player. Excited to have Ben with us. It wouldn't be Charity Hammer without the wonderful and the amazing war boss Chuck. Chuck will be playing Orcs, as is the appropriate thing for the Charity Hammer GT. Chuck, those of you that listen to Best in Faction know Chuck really well. Chuck brings a maturity and a wisdom to 40K that is very needed in the community. He is always an incredible opponent, and he always has really interesting things to point out to his opponent, even if they help his opponent beat him, which I think is pretty fun.
He is the steady hand of the Pod Network.
Yep. Somebody else want to do me so it's not awkward?
Sure. Colin Sherman. What can I say about this guy? He loves to play Eldar. Elves are just where it's at for him if he can be. Created Charity Hammer. My co-host for how long now? 6 years?
6 years, yeah. Maybe 7.
Yeah. Like an incredible amount of time where we have really like gone through so many different phases of life and as 40K players. And it's funny. I'm saying all this, and there's a lot, like, there's nothing artificial about this. I don't get to see Colin.
No.
At all. Like, we don't see each other. We only talk for this podcast right now. So I'm very excited to see Colin again. I'm excited to bring Fern and have her meet Gus and, like, just have a great time. Colin is the frenetic enthusiasm for the bleeding edge of 40K to Chuck's steady hand.
I think that's fair. And I've won things too.
Oh,
Next.
lots of winning things.
Next up is Danny McDevitt, who looks a lot like Chuck, for those that are in on Charity Hammer
Chuck.
Danny McDevitt, this is an actual quote. Danny McDevitt is what it looks like if you draw Chuck from memory. That is, I think, is that your quote, Alex?
That's my joke.
Yeah.
And then
someone said that Danny is Wish.com Chuck, which I also think is great.
At some point, I've also just reversed it, and like no one's caught that I've gone the other direction. I think that just works both ways.
Yeah. So
what's also funny about that is we have found a Danny doppelganger who appears at LVO every year, who is the same age as Danny, but looks like 10 years younger.
Okay.
And has long hair and wears like a leather vest with, or not leather, a denim vest with like patches all over it. He's a really nice guy. I have pictures of Doppel Danny. So we've got not Chuck, Doppel Danny. Like there's just so many of them.
There's also a smaller Pickles that looks just like Pickles, but he's little, and so we called him the Doppelgherkin.
That I need to see for sure.
Oh man,
the Doppelgherkin. Okay, next up, Danny McDevitt, one of the hosts of Grim After Dark, originally Mob Rules. Danny is an incredible advocate for 40K, a wonderful human. He's extremely good at 40K, which people don't know. He kind of does his own jam. He kind of plays his own list and his own, like, he doesn't just meta off people. But he's always someone you got to watch out for. The first Charity Hammer, we had him come. We had no idea how good he was, and he just wrecked people and did really, really well for the first mini rounds of the tournament. I think he made it to the final 4.
He lost to Nanavati. And Nanavati was like, why is this guy so good? I thought he was like a host.
Yeah. So Danny, very, very good. Next up is also from the network, Hank Adams. Hank has won a lot lately. He was in the final 2 against Steve Trimble. He's won GTs lately. He's won RTTs. He's farming RTTs every weekend to help support his Magic the Gathering habit, which I think is hilarious. Go to RTT, win RTT, take money, spend on Magic cards. That's been like Hank's process for the past year. The thing about Hank that I really appreciate is that Hank is extremely analytical. And I love analytics, and so I love having that conversation with him and then like figuring out how we apply it to the table. Hank's also a teacher professionally, so he's going to be a really great guy for you guys to listen to in the games, because he's going to be able to really articulate what's happening. For those that have watched Hank's List Corner, I think you've gotten a taste of that. Hank will be playing Custodes, I'm almost certain, unless there'll be a massive balance change that we don't know about. Next up is Jamie Benton. I don't know Jamie. I don't know things about Jamie. Here's what I know. Here's the only thing I know about Jamie. I know 2 things. It's Benton, right? It's not Benton?
Beaten, I think.
Beaten?
It's BEA.
Jamie, I'm sorry. There's a typo in my spreadsheet. Not me. Okay. So here's the 2 things I know about Jamie. I know that he's very good at 40K, and I know that when I asked my friends who I should invite that I'm missing, the first name that the council of invites brought up was Jamie. They said that he is such a good advocate for the game and a good personality that we have to invite him. So now I'm so excited to meet Jamie. Next up is JC Sell. Jesse Sell is an incredible Sisters player. He was on the LVTT team with Alex and I. What did we get? 4th, 5th, something like that. Third, even better than my memory.
First place, and that was it.
Yeah. So, and we were both very impressed with Jesse, right? Jesse was like, I'm going to get a 12. And then he'd get a 12 and hand it back to us. Like, he knew exactly how his matchups were going to go. He is extremely practiced at Sisters. I presume he's bringing Sisters. Very excited for Jesse to be here. He won BAO, I think, last year.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
It's really cool. He won BAO when they changed the prize to be represented to be in memorial of Jeff Robinson, who was his dear friend of his.
Yeah, very good friends.
That's how I met Jesse, was through Jeff, and that was a really touching moment. And he's just an amazing person. Can't wait to see him again.
Yeah. Next up is Joe Bomarito. I don't know if that's how you say Joe's last name. I've not met Joe. Joe is an East Coast member of the network, and he does the best overall show with Noah, where they talk about doing the whole thing. Noah is a big fan of going for best overall because he's an incredible hobbyist. By the way, there's going to be a best hobby award at Charity Hammer this year for the person that brings the coolest army. I don't know why we haven't done that before, but what we'll do is we'll have somebody on the first day, hopefully Quinnell, because he'd do a really good job of this. We'll have somebody on the first day put pictures up of the armies on the first GT day when everybody's playing. And then we'll have the internet vote. So it'll be favorite, not rubric. I don't love that, but it is what it is. I don't want to do a rubric version. I'd rather it be a popularity contest because it's a charity event. We're trying to get attention. Okay, next up. So Joe, wonderful painter. He painted one of the prizes that we're about to look at. Next up is Josh Bagwell. Josh is someone, and he does not mind me saying this. We've talked about it. Josh is someone who we never would have invited 5 years ago. Josh was one of the worst actors in our local community. And Josh took a look at himself, and he did hard work on himself, and he identified why he was having a problem, where the salt was coming from, why he was having a hard time. And he worked and he worked and he worked. And we started inviting him to stuff again. And he's a wonderful opponent. Josh at his core is an incredible human being that just wants to help and be kind. That's who Josh is. So to have Josh be able to figure out his journey and escape the place where people hated playing him, and he doesn't mind me saying that. He
had actual bans and consequences that were enacted against him, and that's why those consequences exist. It's not to try and punish someone like arbitrarily. It's hopefully a wake-up call so someone can come to terms with, oh wait, I really care about this hobby. I care about this community. This community is telling me what I'm doing is not acceptable, and I need to change what I'm doing. And he did that to a degree I've never seen anyone else do. Honestly, nope. I can't point at another example of a bigger U-turn.
Yeah,
and I just want to see. Oh, go ahead, Alex.
There's a lot of people, not a lot, but there are some people in the 40K community that have done that thing or said they were going to do that thing. We're like, oh, I know I've had some issues. I'm gonna get better, and then people watch them and nothing really changes. They just become better at hiding the bad tendencies. But Josh's changes are like really true and genuine.
Yeah. I was going to add that I want to be clear. He never cheated, to my knowledge. He wasn't a cheater. He just would go on tilt.
An unenjoyable experience.
Let's move on.
Conversation for that. Anyway, that's never a thing to.
So Josh is coming, and by the way, Josh got second in a major with Monster Mash at the end of last year. So it's not like Josh is just trash at the game. He's a good player as well.
Very good, and I really enjoy playing Josh now, and that is I went to a tournament in Spokane. Josh wasn't playing there at all, and someone asked me about him, and they were very surprised because they hadn't been playing for 5 years. And it's really cool to be able to say, no, people in this community can grow and can improve. But like seeing that actually happen, that was a hard process for him, and he really worked at it. And I applaud him for that.
Yeah, I agree completely. So wonderful story there. Now I did skip John Lennon, which I could just keep doing because it's funny.
I like,
but
I thought that was intentional.
I don't think I need to tell you guys about the Boy King. John is a member of Art of War. He's on Team USA, who's trying to win WTC right now. He's won a gazillion team tournaments. He's won big things. John's an incredible player.
He's the Charity Hammer logo.
The very first Charity Hammer logo looks a lot like it's John. That's actually accidental. Moving on. Josh DeBoer is coming. I don't know if that's how you say Josh's last name. Josh is the guy who wrote the 40K Battles app. That's not what it's called. What's it called? Warhammer Battles app? What's it called? I don't know.
Are we talking about the GW one or the one that Goonhammer does? ITC Battles?
There you go.
That one.
That's probably right. Anyways, he wrote that. And he's a somewhat nearby dude. And so he's going to come out and support us. And that's going to be great. Wonderful, wonderful person as well. JT McDowell.
Oh, man.
My favorite opponent in 40K. Done. I've played some amazing people. Not as amazing as JT. JT will grind against you. If you are tabling him, he will... Shut up, Alex. If you are tabling him, he will keep trying as hard as he can until the last effing moment. And the whole time, he will be hysterical. The entire time, he will be funny. So, wonderful player. Very into Drukhari, who is not a great place to be right now. But just a wonderful person, and I'm really excited to have him on the show.
Also play on tabletop.
Yes, also play on tabletop.
Yeah, he's been incredibly successful, far more successful than us in the YouTube space.
That's true. That's true. I think part of that
job up there.
I think part of that is his desire to make quality product.
Yeah. No.
Moving on. Next up
definitely is the difference.
Yeah, JT Steiger. JT is the store manager of Aegis Games, which is the store we've told the story about many times. The store that basically the people took it over from a guy who was not tolerant of others. And now they have an incredibly inclusive safe space store about 40 minutes from me that I go to tournaments at. JT is one of the best hobbyers in 40K. He's won a ridiculous amount of awards. He's also plenty good enough at 40K to be a regular threat to best overall. Next up is Kazra. Kazra's last name is not on here because nobody needs it. He's just Kazra. And Kazra is a Canadian. He is another incredible hobbyist that just does fantastic. We've got some effing hobbyists coming. Man, we have never had hobby heavyweight like we've got at this tournament. Because JT, Kazra, and Joe all could win a hobby award at any tournament. And that doesn't even talk about Lou Rollins, who we haven't gotten to yet.
Yeah.
And Lee.
So
I think, if I remember correctly, Kazra was like in the top 10 for like Renaissance Man at LVO.
Yeah. I think Lou's won that before.
Yes.
In fact. I've gotten third at that between the Stephanie painting and the me playing. That was my favorite thing that's ever happened in 40K was getting third on Renaissance at LVO. That's not true. Team tournaments and Charity Hammer. Aside from those, it's my favorite singles tournament because team tournaments are just the best thing.
Well, also, there's just so many great hobbyists on here. I'm looking at DeWinter Wilkie. I'm looking at Noah. Just it's loaded.
Yeah. Lee Steiger is next, JT's brother. Lee, another fantastic painter, another incredible human, another guy running Aegis. Both those brothers are just phenomenal. Lou Rollins is next. Lou is my second favorite opponent. I went and played him at Las Vegas Teams Tournament, and Alex probably remembers how much I was glowing after that game. That was a terrible matchup for Lou, and man, if he wasn't going to make sure that I had a fun time kicking his teeth in. He's just an incredible painter. He's an incredible human. He's coming. He's painted one of the awards we're giving away. Just incredible. Next up is Lucas Trawler from Best in Faction, The Next Generation, when we were going to start a spin-off show with younger players who are doing the journey that the Best in Faction crew did. They're doing it better than us, but that's what we like.
Yeah.
Lucas is on Team USA for WTC is playing Chaos Knights. He's playing in the event. He's not just a travel player. He wins a lot. He's incredible. I don't even know what else to say about Lucas. He eats beans as a meal replacement, cold beans out of a can.
Lucas is someone who marches to the beat of his own drum, and I mean that in the nicest way possible. He, I never look at what Lucas is doing and I go, oh, that's what everyone's doing, right? Like he is very good at crafting his own lists that play to his own play style, and just because he plays orcs doesn't mean he can only run at you. He has a lot more in the tank than that.
Yeah, I agree. Well, he's playing Chaos Knights, for example.
Well, yeah, no, I think that he made his big debut with orcs, right? Everyone got to know him as Lucas the Orc, and then, but there's just a lot. He's got his skill set has just really blossomed. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, I agree. Alex, what would you say about Matt Evans? We both know him pretty well. What would you say?
Matt Evans is just like such a like nice dude. Like he can have like that honorary Canadian kind of thing, and he had like a disaster last year and still showed up and was still in incredible spirits considering what had happened. He hit some wildlife with his vehicle on the drive up.
8 hours from my house by car.
Yeah, and then was like picked up by another player and had to like have that in the back of his mind about like, oh god, I got to deal with like, you know, real life the second.
How am I going to get home with all my stuff? Yeah. Was a very real concern.
And he was still just like in good spirits and giving great games and just fun to be around, and like, yeah, it's just very impressive.
And he won a GT with a Harden last year.
Yep, and he, I think he's won Storm as well. I think he won Storm 2 years ago.
He's won Storm. He's won I've known Matt longer than I've known Colin, actually. I played 7th edition against Matt. Nice. And he's always been the exact same kind of opponent. He's going to show up in gym shorts and a t-shirt, and if he's playing Tyranids, I mean, he doesn't always, but if he's playing Tyranids, they're going to be in buckets or bins, and that's just how it is. I remember playing against him when he was playing Knights too. Like, just really cool dude. Like, I've had lots of great games against him. He's just another great person to have, and I'm excited to see him.
Yeah, I agree. Next up is my wonderful friend and co-host of many, many years, Mr. Mitchell Pelham. Mitch is a dominant, ridiculously good 40K player who doesn't make the time to play 40K because of real life, is the way I would describe Mitch. Mitch has won a lot. In fact, there's a time in 8th edition where Mitch would have probably been like 3rd in the ELO of our tournament, because of the level at which he's wrecking. He almost made it to the finals at LVO. He's made lists he's several times in his life, he's made lists that became a medalist across the world.
Yeah, like twice.
Twice.
Really big medalists. Twice.
Yeah, he was the first person that we're on the show aware of playing the Castellan and Guard and Blood Angels list. Other people played it in Europe, so I don't think he's the only one that came up with it, but we like to give him credit. He also invented the All Hellhounds list, which was fantastic and taught a lot of people how to hug. So Mitch is just an incredible advocate for 40K and a wonderful co-host, and we're excited to have him here. First timer to Charity Hammer is Nick Hendricks.
Hell yeah.
Now, Nick Hendricks, so I don't know who we give best sports to here, guys, but I've never seen Nick unhappy in a game of 40K. I don't know what that even looks like. Nick is a local who is at every event and just beams energy. Like, I'm so excited to be here. Like, just, I'm here. We're all having fun.
Much super like excited. Harrison in that way.
Yeah, like I'm just
thrilled to be here. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Nick Villegas is after that. Nick also works for Aegis. Nick actually has a pretty good elo so far in 10th edition. Been beating some big players. Nick is very new. He's like a year and a half into 40K, and the speed at which he's learning is incredible, and that's a big part of why we're including him.
He's also just like the nicest teddy bear of a man. Like, he's just really like soft-spoken and chill and always like just great. Loves every time I encounter him.
Yep. Next up is Nicholas James. He is a Canadian. He is from Vancouver Island, I believe. And he is relatively new to 40K, I think a year. And he comes to every event in Western Washington, is always there, is always positive. Nick reached out and said, can my friend Steven and I come and just help? Whatever you need, we'll help. It'll be great. And not only did I bring them and let them help, but I put them in the GT.
Oh, yeah.
They have not won as much, but they're new and they want to learn, and they're going to get to play incredible players, and that's going to be really useful for them. Next up is Noah Badome. Noah. Man, is Noah the best person on this list? I don't know. There's so many best people on this list. I'm getting tired of saying how great everyone is. Noah has done more to support Charity Hammer other than me of anyone ever. So, and that's including people like Mitch Pelham, or excuse me, people like Mitch, but people like Michael Timpey. So I actually met Mitch. Salt Spring Island. Where the hell is that? That's where Nicholas James lives.
I would say the thing about Noah is he is an amazing person. It seems like in every facet of his life that I've seen, he seems like an amazing dad, an amazing husband,
agreed,
business owner, like hobbyist, opponent. Like I feel like he's always trying his hardest and he's always trying to give his best. And it is just such an admirable quality in a person.
Yep, I agree. Amazing opponent and just a stupid good hobbyist. I'm mad at his nights. I see his nights and I legitimately get upset. Like they are that cool. So he'll probably be playing nights and you'll probably get to see them. Next up is Nicholas Olson Johnson. I call him Naj because I think that's a great nickname. Other people call him Nick OJ. He's also a member of Team USA. He won Slaneshmas, which is 100-something person tournament. With Votan, in fact, at the end of 9th. He is again, great dude, younger dude, earlier to the competitive scene, but just wrecking people and taking it by force, and a member of Team USA. Next up is Paul Winters. Paul is the person that we put into the event to get trashed every year. Paul would tell you the same thing. Paul plays only Slaanesh Demons. That is the rule. But he is great at 40K. He is a really wonderful advocate, and he will do so much stream hosting that it will blow your mind. So Paul will be around all weekend doing stuff, and so we'll put Paul into the tournament. Paul has been the 32nd seed before and had to play Lennon or whoever round 1 and just been a great sport about it. Peter Decock is what we call him. Big fan of Deathcore, which is, of course, why we call him Peter Decock and no other reason. Peter is another march to the beat of his own drum. Took a non-indirect fire list with a Shadow Sword to Tacoma. I keep wanting to call it OVO because it was so big. To Tacoma Open and did really well. Really, really, really well. Peter, longtime Charity Hammer member, also in charge of tech this year.
And an LVO judge.
Well,
Scott
right.
DeWinter Wilkie.
I'd also say for Peter, real quick, he is one of the people I actually bounce list ideas off of, like for guard. Like he is there are very few people who know guard better than Peter. He is absolutely an expert.
And his guard army is pretty.
It is
pretty. You ever want to see somebody paint every single rivet on every single guard thing? That's Peter. By the way, they have a lot of rivets. Okay.
And Scott, everything converted to Deathcore. Everything.
Scott DeWinter Wilkie. Probably the most fun name at Charity Hammer this year. Only ahead of Nicholas Olson Johnson. So, Alex, you know Scott pretty well, I think?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about Scott.
Scott is also a teacher, which seems to be a trend with some of these people.
Mm-hmm.
He hosts the Boardroom Brawl in his tiny little town of Grand Forks, and that's been an event I've been to 3 times now. Really great hobbyist, advocate of the game, just a really great human being, and another one of those guys is just kind of a sleeper as far as skill, where you're like, oh, this big friendly teacher is going to come play me, and then you're like, oh, this guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna times, and every game is like, oh yeah, I can't make errors or I'm gonna get destroyed.
Canadian Noah. Canadian Noah.
It's pretty fair.
That's how I would describe Scott. I've seen him at a lot of my events playing, and he's always a pretty army, always a great attitude, never issues at the table. Yeah, I would absolutely say like Canadian Noah.
Yeah. I ran into Scott at a tournament in Spokane when I was playing Jeans de la Colte in 8th, and they were really super good. And he was playing Orcs. And at that time, I did not take Orcs seriously because I had beaten Orcs in every game I had played against them, and I did not know this guy, and I did not deploy correctly, and he wrecked me because of it. And I played as hard as I possibly could to get back into the game, and he beat me by like 2 points. We had this incredible game where I was set way behind, just way behind. And I just worked, and he was phenomenal about it. It was a great game. Excited for him to come. I don't know Steven particularly well. He's coming with Nicholas James from, checking notes, Salt Spring Island. And they're going to come help out. They're going to play. I suspect just because they're newer to the tournament scene, they will be filling in our low seeds. So they might get a really rough matchup in the first round. So that could be fun for them. Next up, probably the current best player in the Pacific Northwest, at least by achievement, is Steve Trimble. Yeah. There was a long time where I had won the same amount of stuff as him, and that's just not true anymore. I think I've won more tournaments, but Steve has won larger and more recent tournaments. So I'm just going to give it to him. I think Steve is certainly in Washington State is the most accomplished player. Steve is another person who had to kind of learn how to win and learn sportsmanship, and he's done a great job of it. And he's now a really great opponent. Very good player. Extremely, extremely aggressive.
I was going to say a bulldozer of a player.
Yeah. Deploy on the line. Here we go.
Yeah.
And you know what? That works for him. He's very good at it. So excited to have Steve here. I just call him Trimble. We got plenty of Steves in 40K. We don't need another one. Trimble's a great last name. Tyler Bortel, also a unit of measure that we use on the network. He's a time-based unit of measure. Tyler is the member of TNG that I'm the closest with. Partially because he's in the Hivemind chat with John and Alex and I talking about Tyranid lists all the time, and GSE lists lately, not Tyranid lists really at all. And Tyler is one of those guys that's so smart that you get surprised regularly by him. Like, it's not that I have an expectation of him that he's not brilliant. It's that he's a level of brilliant where he's just like, he'll say a thing and you'll be like, are you sure you're not 45? Like, he just has that level of kind of worldview and maturity. And he is the showrunner for TNG. Member of Team USA, has won things himself. I think he doesn't have the big tournament win yet, I don't think. I think that Naj and Lucas have that, and he's not quite gotten there yet. But I don't think it's because he's the worst of the three of them. I don't think that at all.
Well,
here's my thing about... Sorry to cut you off. Here's my thing about Tyler is his only flaw in 40K, I mean this very legitimately, his only flaw is that he tends to find a way to lose to people he shouldn't. Mm-hmm. If he can shore that up, he is going to be one game.
Yeah.
If he can shore that up, he's going to be terrifying at every event he goes to.
Yeah.
He tends to overthink, like burn time overthinking for the wrong. Like, having watched a lot of Tyler's games as a judge, he gets very caught up in trying to capture every single possibility before making a decision, and that can be really to his own detriment at times, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But incredible player. He came close to winning Slaanesh last year. Obviously, Naj took that, but he was right there in the running. I remember calling those games, and yeah, it's very. He's just so smart. Sometimes I feel like his strategy gets in the way of his tactics. I don't know how else to explain it.
I just realized if you put the way Trimble plays, the best of Trimble and the best of Bortel into one person, they would win everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tyler would much rather control the board and count to 100.
Yeah, and Trimble will be like, "This is the decision we're making.
Yeah.
This is the correct decision," and that confidence will sometimes take him to like insane heights because he is correct. And if you could take like that level of kind of killer instinct that Trimble has, and
analysis.
overall analytics
Yeah,
that
yeah.
Vortel has.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
that's a scary
Yeah.
call.
Monster.
I think that's completely fair. So that's your 33 people that are in the Charity Hammer GT. And guys, may not be the aggregate highest skill level group we've ever had, because we've had smaller groups with more people traveling in from all over the country. But I promise you right here and now, this is the best group of people.
I'm excited to see everyone on this list or meet.
Yeah.
See or meet. But like, I'm so excited.
Yeah, I mean, other than Paul Winters, I'm excited that I just picked someone. No, I think that every game is going to be fun. Like, we had the best sportsmanship game last year. I can't do that now. We'd have to have a 8-person tournament.
It would be its own event. Yeah, the best.
Yeah, exactly right. Okay, we have a couple more slides to show you guys
the whole way through. Let's hit our people who are supporting real quick.
We don't have sponsors yet. Oh, I already talked about them.
Okay. Pickles.
John Quinnell from Grim After Dark. Pickles doesn't play 40K yet, goes to tons of 40K events. Always
has
supports
probably the
us.
largest collection of all of us.
Yeah, which is bizarre. And then Jason Schuster, who is basically my right-hand man on everything I do for Best in Tabletop. Always eager to help. Okay. The new Tins book is going to be out, we think. So we're going to have a Best of Nids contest, which we always have. Well, at least we had last year. And last year, John Lennon won it. And I suspect that Alex does not like that. Is that fair, Alex?
I believe in the Tyranid Mirror, he's my only loss ever.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
And
So-
we're talking of like a decade.
So I have arbitrarily given each of them a nickname for this competition. These nicknames are not set in stone. If you guys have better nicknames you'd like to suggest, I will happily swap these out. But right now I have Alex Bugdaddy McDougal, which I enjoy. Then I have John the Gaunt King Lennon, which isn't super great because he doesn't actually play a ton of Gaunts, but I was going with the Boy King and I wasn't sure what to put in there. Matt Baron von Swarm Evans, I enjoy that one. And then Tyler Math Stealer Bortel, which I enjoy because of all the math. But again, he's not as into Gene Stealers. It's not perfect, but I had to come up with something. This is single elimination, so it's 2 games and then 1 game. It's seeded, so John will play Matt Evans, or I can't remember now. I think does John? Who do you play first, Alex?
I am playing Tyler first because
That's right.
we did this exact same for last year, and I started playing with Matt, and John played Tyler.
Okay. So you're playing Tyler and John's playing Matt. And then the winner of those games play each other. That's perfect. Okay. Cool. And what do you win? The bragging rights. Okay.
Third arm.
Yep. How do you participate? Well, first of all, Charity Hammer, the website, will be launched tomorrow. So you can go there. Then there's going to be a Charity Hammer Discord. Now, this Discord will be open to anyone who wants. There's no fee. It's free. You can just go to it. It's going to open on Tuesday. We're going to announce it on This Week in 40K. And it's going to have all of the players. It's going to have updates on the games, who's winning the tournament, update links to the challenge bracket. It's going to have news on raffle prizes. It's going to have a list of who's won the raffle prizes. It's going to have all the communication that makes it a sleepover, right? We aren't good at communicating what's happening. We will be this year because the people at Charity Hammer will also be in this Discord talking. So you'll be able to tag Alex McDougal and be like, Alex, what the hell happened in blah, blah, blah. And Alex will either go in there and answer you or we'll answer it on stream.
Or ignore you because your questions are dumb.
Could be, yes. So that's going to be the Charity Hammer Discord, and it's going to be open to everyone. 1 week after Charity Hammer, we will close it. We're not going to keep it as a free 40K community because too many people have podcasts that are using that to support the podcast.
Yeah. Next, quick, I have a question we have Nicholas James actually in the chat. And my question is, how often when you're playing 40K and you win, you just go, I'm Nick James, bitch?
I think that's a great question. Yeah.
Because you better do it at Charity Hammer. I expect it.
There will also be a Charity Hammer Facebook event that you can attach yourself to that will remind you where the streams and everything are. We might update to charity to Facebook. I don't know. It depends on if we can set up a bot in Discord to do. I know you can do Facebook and Instagram at the same time. If we can do Facebook, Instagram, and Discord, we might do all three. So we'll figure that out. And then there will be a stream schedule. It'll be on the website and in the Discord. It'll show you what's happening. It'll show you who's playing. And then it'll have a link to each stream, so you can just click on the link to the stream. That was a confusing thing for people last year; they couldn't find the streams. So that's how you participate. How do you support? First and foremost, this is not Fight Club. The first and most important rule of Charity Hammer is that you always talk about Charity Hammer. The problem with Charity Hammer is only getting attention because of how the 40K community is now. Okay. So you need to post it on Facebook. You need to put it in your Discords. You need to put it in wherever you happen to be that you're talking to people. It's important. We need just raw eyes. Oh, we just need numbers of eyes to watch the thing.
Bags of raw eyes.
I mean, as opposed to cooked eyes?
Yes, as opposed to cooked eyes.
Okay. I'd also add, I know right now the Penny Arcade guys are playing a lot of 40K. They're putting out comics about 40K.
I already sent the email.
No. All of the people listening, if you have a Twitter account or X account or whatever it is, if you tweet at them about Charity Hammer, send them the website. If we can get their attention, they have a much further reach. That's super helpful for the charity.
Yeah, we do get shouted out by Child's Play as well. So that's really helpful. They've been incredibly supportive. So yes, and don't tweet them the website yet because it won't be up till tomorrow.
No, tomorrow, do that.
Yes, Monday. It'll be up Monday. Okay, you can donate, which we'll talk about how that works in just a moment. But there's a Tiltify link. It's easy. You don't have to go through us. You know the money's going to the charity. You can. It's tax deductible if you're in the United States. All that stuff. This year, for the first time ever, you'll be able to buy a shirt. The shirts that we sell are incredibly comfortable. All of the profit goes to charity. I will let you know that if you buy a shirt instead of donating, you will miss out on raffle prizes, and not as much of your money will go to charity because I do have to pay the vendor for the shirts. But everybody was excited about shirts. There will be shirts. They're going to go up in the next couple days. That way people can buy shirts. That way the people coming to Charity Hammer can wear the shirts as well.
Yeah, we got to get one.
Nick says, I leave it to my opponents. It's a gauge of whether or not my opponent has seen the Chappelle show. Based on how young he is, he was probably 4 when that show was out, if we're being fair.
So he was really able to be dominant on the playground.
That's exactly right. I'm Nick James, bitch. Okay, but you can buy a shirt. You can set a bracket on Challenge. There will be an award for that. You can tell your friends, and you can also chat with us as we're doing it. The raffle. Every $30 you donate is a raffle ticket. You don't have to do anything. We don't give you the raffle tickets. We don't call numbers. We have a spreadsheet. It updates. We have everybody's tickets on there. You can't win more than once unless you win the grand prize. If you win everybody can win the grand prize at the end of the event. And if you do, you have to give back the prize you won earlier, but that's the fairest. If you want, you don't have to. But that's the fairest thing to do because the grand prizes are worth like over $1,000. And somebody might be like, I want a Sisters of Battle Sisters box set. Now I can't win the $1,000 Painted Army. Ooh, Painted Army. About to see those. So raffle tickets are automatically tracked every $30. So $30 is a ticket, $60 is 2 tickets, $90 is 3 tickets, like that. And then we draw throughout the event. You can win raffle tickets by answering trivia questions. By law, we have to allow a way to get prizes that is not donation based. So we have. Every 3 hours we give out prizes. It'll be a stack of 40K. We have a Kill Team box set to give out. We've got the old Warhammer, the Orc box set from 2 years ago. We've got one of those to give out. The Land Raider or the Super Heavy tank that Mitch donated last year. Nobody ended up taking, I don't think. No, I did. That did go out. That did go out. Yeah. And just an incredible amount of product that we'll be giving out. We're also going to have shirts and all types of prizes from our sponsors. We don't have them yet, but we'll have them. It'll be really, 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 really fun to give out all those prizes. And then last year we gave away a $1,500 gift certificate. The year before, we gave out a Necron or painted Necron army that I had won from Nova that was gorgeous. We also gave away $700 of Orc product. This is the sorts of grand prizes we've had. This year, 3 different people have painted armies that we're going to give away. Here we go.
Yeah, and these are not painted by me. These are painted by people that know what they're doing.
Yeah, I want to win one of these, and I can't.
So first of all, this is Joe Bomarito's Space Marine army that he's giving away.
Just gorgeous. Just stunning.
It's really, really pretty. It's a special blood something or Blood Ravens. Does that sound right?
Well, like
probably Blood Ravens. From
if we look in here, he's got some Forge World bits, like those Thunder Hammers that he's using for
Blood Ravens.
Yeah, like there's some really cool stuff going on here. Like just gorgeously done.
And we'll get better pictures than this. We'll have professional pictures taken roughly at the event, and we'll put them up. But this is one of the 2 grand prizes, and then the second prize is a Custodes army that I don't have full pictures of. This is a Death Watch themed Custodes army painted by Lou Rollins, and it is silly amazing. I want to point out that Custodes tank in the upper right hand corner is free-handed.
Yep.
I think we have. Yeah.
I want it so bad.
Here's the third army. The third army we don't have great pictures of, but it is a completely kit-bashed Necron army. It went to the Las Vegas team tournament and was part of winning Best Painted as a team. It is really, really neat, and we will get a look at it. Some better pictures coming up here.
You've played a game with this, haven't you?
Yeah, but it's really, really neat.
So good.
3 armies to give away. Here's what we're going to do. I'm excited about this. One of these armies is going to be given away for the bracket winner.
Ooh.
We're going to make the bracket winner a real effing contest. Okay? You guys tell me which of those 3 armies is the bracket winner prize.
Necrons.
Okay.
That's
you agree, Alex?
Yeah, I'm down with that.
Okay.
That's a great win.
Okay, so if you win the bracket, now we will have a tiebreaker in position for this because you could have 2 people with the exact same bracket.
But
I'll know that. I'll know that with Saturday night when we're getting ready for the top 4. I'll know if we could potentially have a double bracket, and if we do, we'll reach out to those people and we'll have them set scores for the final game. That's what we'll do. So we will have one winner, and that winner will take home a Necron painted kit-bashed army that's table ready. It's a 2,000 point army, at least in 9th edition, so it might be different now, but you can put it on the table and start playing it right away. And then the Blood Ravens list army and the Custodes army, one of those will be the grand prize, one of those will be the runner-up prize. I don't know how we'll decide that.
Maybe you have we have a vote to see which one's first and which one's the runner-up.
Maybe we have all the great painters that aren't those 2 go and decide which one's the better painted army, and we'll have the better painted army being the grand prize.
I like it.
I want the Custodes army.
The Custodes army, hands down.
That's the one that I want. I think they're all great,
but
I would personally, the free-handed painting on the Custodes tank.
So
it just gets me.
The downside to that army is you can never expand it because you're never replicating that.
Yeah.
You have to call up Lou and be like, "Hey, so I bought 3 more dreadnoughts, and this is a problem."
That's fair. So the prizes will be just fantastic. We're going to give out painted armies. We've got a bunch of product to give out. We always have Charity Hammer swag. Usually we have some free tickets to the Art of War subscription. Just a really, really, really
We're
fun
definitely
event.
going to have a few free subscriptions to Danny's coaching service that we give away for sure.
The slogan for Danny's coaching service is just roll 6s or just get better.
Yeah, or why are you so bad at this?
Why are you so bad at this? Exactly right. So thank you, everyone. This is just I can't tell you guys how excited I am. This is the favorite thing I do every year. I took a new job and I said, hey, I'm out for a week in September. Non-negotiable. This is a thing that I'm doing. It's going to be great. What are your guys' favorite things about Charity Hammer that you want to share before we leave?
Hanging out and eating the food with with everyone, just like getting to like just the intermingling. I'm spoiled because as a judge I get to watch a lot of really top tier players play all the time. Like for that, like that's actually something I have a lot of access to. But getting to hang out and just have fun with those people and just enjoy them without it being in that really tense setting is something I don't necessarily get to do as much. So I really look forward to that.
Yeah, I agree completely. Alex, something other than the people.
Oh, that's the best
You
part.
said the food too.
I would say the consistent quality of games is really impressive. Like you go to a GT sometimes and you're like, well, one game was hard. That was the one for the event. And then the others were maybe like not that great. Every game you play is just like high quality. You got to be engaged the whole time. I think that's one of the reasons that it's so tiring by the end of Charity Hammer.
Yeah.
Is you get to the end, you're like, man, every game has been like a barn burner.
Because you don't just roll everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really well put because there's a gap between the good players and the average players where the good players never stop trying. Mm-hmm. And so like you get your foot down on someone and then they're still squirming and you're still trying to figure out how to get them, right?
Or they are able to slip out of it, right?
Oh, yeah, or they're able to slip out of it.
And then you're like, oh, man, I thought I had this in the bag. And that's what
exactly
makes it so excellent. Yeah.
Exactly right, yeah. I think, obviously, the money we give to charity is amazing. There's a vibe to Charity Hammer that I really get energized by. Everybody's super excited. Everybody's together. We rarely invite someone to Charity Hammer for the first time and have them be like, nah. People are usually hype. In fact, if someone recommends someone to me and I do my research and let them in, I let the person who referred them invite because it's so fun. Did I skip Donald?
Plumer?
We didn't talk about Donald.
I didn't.
Is he not on the list?
No. Look at you, bad host. Bad. No,
he is on the list. You just skipped him.
You just skipped him.
Yeah. Jeez, I'm so sorry, Donald. I feel terrible about this. Yeah. So, Well, what do you say about Donald now that we've forgotten him?
We're sorry? That seems like a good place to start.
Donald's amazing. He's so good at 40K, but I've never seen him stop smiling. He laughs. He makes loud jokes. He plays even when he's getting trashed, it's rough. He played an incredible game against Hank that went down to like 2 points. And Hank was just like, that's the best game of 40K I've ever played. So, really excited to have Donald there. So what I would say, though, about Charity Hammer in general is there's a vibe to it. Everyone's really excited to be at the slumber party. And what we're doing is incredible. And then the amount of money that comes in is just phenomenal. And that money comes in because we're a community of gamers. However, we're a community of gamers that spends a lot of money on our hobby. And I think that most of us feel fortunate to be able to do that in this world where so many people couldn't afford that hobby. And you end up with the idea of these sick children or people, women in domestic violence shelters, these people who legitimately need our help. And for me, I compare, am I going to spend $60 and buy a box set of something, or am I going to donate $60 to Charity Hammer? And I think that kind of math helps this community really raise money. That said, it's a community where the normal expectation is that you're going to play 3 hours. You're going to play a game for 3 hours with a stranger, and you both want to have fun. So it's also a community that cares about other people. Because if you don't make it, right? Like you can be a competitive League of Legends player and be kind of a jerk. You cannot be a super competitive 40K player for long and be a super jerk because eventually it will get out and it will be a problem. So everybody cares that's coming to the tournament. Everybody cares about you and about the charity and about the people they're playing against. And that, for me, is what I'm so excited about. Lots more Charity Hammer content over the next month, everybody. Keep an eye, subscribe to Best in Tabletop. That's where you'll get all that content and you'll see it. Like and subscribe this. Like and subscribe it wherever you find it. Talk to your friends about us. Send them a link to this video. Tell them, I'm sorry it's 2 hours long, but I promise it's entertaining. And we'll go from there. Thank you, everybody. Alex, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Mitch, as always, the godfather of Biff Pod, thank you so much. We'll be back soon. I'll be back Tuesday for This Week in 40K, and we're going to be here in the month for Charity Hammer, and it's going to be a riot. Thank you, everybody. Bye for now.
Bye.